Ladies and gentlemen, we made it. It is National Championship Week. The college football playoff national championship is here, and this is the Tailgate Committee, your new favorite college football show. We are going to break it all down. We're going to talk about how we got here, talk about those semifinal matchups, some of the recent news in college football, and we will obviously preview the big game. So, my name is Andy Hopper. That's Tom Scavetta. We're joined always by Noah Dibler. Let's jump right into our semifinals recap. Before we do that, we want to remind you, if you haven't already, subscribe on YouTube, like this video, comment, share with a friend. We are also on social media. We are at the Tailgate Committee on Facebook and Instagram, and at the Tailgate Com on Twitter. We would appreciate any support for the show, or haters, I guess, as long as you're watching and following. So let's get right into our semifinals recap. We had two games. We had one very good game, and another one was a game. That you could call it that. Miami and Ole Miss. Let's start with the good one. This one came down to the wire, 31-27 win. Miami's Cinderella run continues, and they take out another SEC opponent, another higher ranked team in this one, and they come out with a 31-27 win. We wanted more from Carson Beck, guys. We've been asking for more, and I think we got it in this one. 23 for 37, 268 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He did add a score with his legs, which ended up being the game-winning touchdown. He did have an interception. Chambliss, I thought, was great as well. 23 for 37. Oh, wow, they were both 23 for 37. That's cool. He had 1 touchdown and 277 yards. Mark Fletcher Jr. was another big day on the ground. Ole Miss could not stop him. 22 carries for 133 yards. Quan Lacey was pretty good himself, battling a hamstring injury. 11 carries for 103 and a touchdown for him. But big time offense. We did see, Miami's defense definitely get to Ole Miss a couple times. Perkins for Ole Miss was able to cause some havoc in the Hurricane backfield as well. Noah, we'll start with you on this one. Miami's march continues. What was your biggest takeaway from this game? I guess I think we have to start with Carson Beck, because I think a couple times now, the past couple weeks, you've said, hey, if Miami wants to keep winning, he can't just be a game manager. He's got to take control and go win the game, and it really feels like he did that in the semifinals.
Yeah, and I think that take has aged very well, because this was a game where they needed Carson Beck to have a good game, especially in that fourth quarter, and he did. And look, I love to rip on the guy as much as the next guy, but I also think, if you want to be as unbiased as possible, you should also be able to give a guy credit when he deserves it. And in my opinion, I think Carson Beck was really good in this game. He took charge, especially in that fourth quarter. That final drive was unbelievable. And look, I know people are going to talk about the pass interference. That's the big topic. And guys, I'm just going to say it once again. If your reason for losing a game comes down to a referee decision, you didn't do enough to win the game. I mean, that's just, I'll just leave it at that. Carson Beck, I thought, was great on that drive. He actually helped me hit my lock of the week. I know Andy doesn't really know what that feels like, but, he got it on that final drive, 268 yards. Credit to him. 2 touchdowns. Did have the interception as well, but yeah, I thought he was very good. Definitely. I mean, we've been doing the last 2 games, and Andy, we did that percentage game. How much of the percentage would you give Carson Beck for this victory?
Sure.
And this one, I have to say, at minimum, he's got to be at least 50%, probably more, because they needed every bit from him in this game to just win by 4 points. Mark Fletcher was also really good. Average 6 yards per carry, but I think for a Miami, team that we've been talking about basically is the running game and their defense. I mean, their defense, I wouldn't say was horrible, especially, with how Ole Miss can explode. But, I mean, They gave up almost 400 yards of offense. Ole Miss scored 27 points. Jameis actually didn't turn the ball over. I think a big difference maker in this game, guys, and it kind of like stunned me when I saw this time of possession. 41-22 for Miami, only 18-38 for Ole Miss, man. Miami was just, killing that clock, pounding the ball on the ground. I mean, almost 200 yards rushing for them. Even though they didn't have a lot of yards per rush, Carson Beck also got sacked like 4 times this game, I believe. They stuck to it. They stayed balanced, and they were efficient too. 11 of 19 on third. They had the 2 fourth down conversions. By contrast, Ole Miss was only 2 of 10 on third down. And Miami had to overcome some mistakes as well. They had 10 penalties in this game. They were behind the sticks a fair bit. So credit to them. Keelan Marion, 114 yards, a touchdown. Obviously, we've sung praises about Malachi Toney all season long. I think he's really nice. But yeah, this is what this Miami team needed, guys. They have the defense, they have the running game, and now it looks like their quarterback is starting to play really well at the right time. Now, of course, the next test is toughest team they played by far. It's not even close, so they're going to be really tested there. But in this game, man, I was very impressed with them. And look, for Ole Miss, this is another team that was a Cinderella story with Pete Golding. I just think, Miami's just getting hot at the right time, guys. I mean, they look dead in the water, about 2 months ago or so. They've gone on a good run, and they've shown they belong, more than belong. And I think as long as their defense can keep them in it, I'm not saying, I expect them to win, but I never even expect them to get this far at all. So they definitely deserve credit. Beck deserves credit for this game as well. Doesn't erase, some of his earlier struggles for sure, but in this game, I thought he was very, very good. And yeah, I mean, what a game. Thank God there was finally one good game, because I'm going to be honest, guys, I feel like the CFP has had a few too many blowouts, but that's a topic for another time.
A few laughers in every round. This one certainly wasn't. It came down to literally the last play. You mentioned it, Noah. A heave to the end zone for Trinidad Chambliss from what were they, around the 30? I think Miami's 30-yard line. And there was definitely some hand fighting. You go back and watch the replay, you could make a case that there was defensive pass interference. In that situation, it rarely ever gets called, whether it is or not. And, in my opinion, I thought it probably was. That's also somebody whose lock of the week was Ole Miss. So I would have loved an untimed down. But, credit to Miami and credit to Ole Miss and Pete Golding for it was Pete Golding, Joe Judge, and Charlie Weiss Jr. and who knows how many other assistants they had. And Trinidad Chambliss, if that's the last game of his career, we'll talk about that in a little bit. It was a valiant way to go out. Tom, your takeaway from this one, and I don't know if am I beating you to this, Carson Beck, what the heck?
In a good way for once.
Yeah.
In a good way, yes. Yes, the year is 2026, and Carson Beck will be the quarterback of one of the teams playing in the national championship game. Also, the year is 2026, and we have Indiana against an ACC team not named Clemson or Florida State in the national championship game. That's where we are. That is the state of college football, ladies and gentlemen. Though, you might as well Carson Beck an SEC transplant. 23 of 37 for 2 touchdowns in this game. More outside the numbers that really impressed me too, his poise in the pocket, his ability to avoid taking sacks. And all in all, I thought his creativity when the play broke down, getting the ball to Malachi Toney, the deep ball was there for him. Malachi Toney, awesome receiver, future NFL star. Keelan Marion, as the old boy mentioned, over 100 yards. When you have two boys like that, and you throw CJ Daniels into the mix, I mean, these Hurricanes are dangerous. And why are they dangerous? Because their passing offense is set up by their rushing offense. This is textbook complementary football that Ole Miss could not adjust to defensively. Mark Fletcher had 133 yards on the ground, and the Canes outrushed the Rebels by 70 yards in this game. To make matters worse for Ole Miss, they just didn't give Kawan Lacey the ball enough. Only 11 rushes for 103 yards. This is a guy that should be touching the ball at least 20 times a game. We know how good he is. We know how special he is. And I think Trinidad Chambliss, as great as he is, there were some errors in this game. He did not have a perfect game. Neither did Beck. But I just thought, not that I was disappointed. I thought he made some awesome plays down the stretch, but there were also some plays that made you rethink, like, I understand why it took him a while to get here. And now that he's here, he's taking it by storm. But there's still some moments where you're like, that might need a little craft if he's going to be an NFL starter in the future, right? And that's kind of what I'm questioning here. It's not the fact that he's not a capable SEC starter. He is, and he the game. Full of errors in this game that I noticed that could draw some red flags at the next level. But all in all, phenomenal season. That lawsuit, which we'll get into later, about the extra year of eligibility, crazy stuff. That's where we're at, sadly. And here's the real reason why Miami won this game. They controlled the ball for 41 minutes. You keep Chambliss off the field. You put them in a negative game script. That's what they did. They dominated the line of scrimmage like they have all season long. If Francis Mauigoa is not a top 10 pick in this year's draft, we will all riot because he is a big part of the reason why they are where they are. All 5 guys up front in the trenches deserve a lot of credit. And I can't believe I'm saying this. Miami, Florida is advanced championship game. Yuck.
Yeah, we talk shit regularly about Carson Beck on the show, about the ACC conference as a whole on the show. I think all 3 of us collectively agreed Miami was done 2 months ago, like Noah said earlier. So yeah, this is a real big egg on our face. But Miami, congratulations, you have a home national championship game. I don't know when the last time that's happened. It is. But your prize is Indiana, who has looked like an absolute wagon. So we will see how they handle that. But let's go to our segment for this week. College football's got an eligibility problem, fellas. There are some eligibility issues, and I think it starts with something you mentioned, Tom. Trinidad Chambliss, he applied for a 6-year of eligibility. He was looking to come back to Ole Miss next year, and his waiver was denied by the NCAA. So I believe he spent 4 years at Ferris State with a redshirt season, and then he also, I think it was 2022, he did not play due to complications with COVID, tonsillitis, and some various illnesses. So he did not play and took, but basically, I don't know, there was not really any medical redshirt paperwork set, or at least the NCAA said there wasn't. And then an email resurfaces from the head coach at Ferris State recommending a medical redshirt because Chambliss couldn't play. So as we've seen now in the past few years, when these, it's not just college football, it's pretty much any college sport now. If these kids' eligibility gets denied, they're just going to lawyer up and they are going to sue, which is what Chambliss has done. So they denied his waiver. Ole Miss is appealing that, and Chambliss has hired some lawyers in Mississippi, and he will be taking this to state court. So they are preparing the complaint for a preliminary and permanent injunction for Chambliss, calling for a level playing field. We expect the lawsuit to be far more detailed and documented than other eligibility lawsuits that have been filed in the past year. That is a quote from Mars, that is one of the attorneys for Chambliss. Therefore, considerable work needs to be done before we'll be prepared to seek an injunction that would allow Trinidad to play next season. So timeline for filing would be toward the end of this week. So at the time of this recording, probably we're getting close here. Chambliss, obviously he broke out. He was a backup, led the Rebs to the semifinals, 3,900 yards on the season, 22 touchdowns, a big year for him. He was at Ferris State Division II last year, had a great year in his first year as the full-time starter. But technically he's really only played for 3 years and kind of sat on the sideline. So I do think he has a case here. We'll see. He's got a lot of money on the line. Obviously, he can declare and go to the NFL. He'll probably get drafted. But is he a guaranteed first-round pick? No. With the NIL money and everything, they're projecting that he could reach more than $6 million in compensation to go back to Ole Miss. Yeah, I think I'd like to try to go back to Ole Miss for $6 million myself. Tom, I'll start with you on this one. Give me your take on this whole situation. Do you think Chambliss deserves an extra year of eligibility? Was the NCAA right to deny the waiver? I guess we can get into a precedent. Does this set a bad precedent for college football? Obviously, Diego Pavia was heavily documented last year with his eligibility, fight and kind of being one of the first big names to really step up in the limelight and have this kind of situation. But let's talk about Chambliss and what you make of all this.
Yeah, so he played 4 years at Ferris State. Played 0 games. 2022, played 2. 2023, played 8, started 1. 2024, started 15. This past season, 15 games with 13 starts. Now, when you look specifically and take a deep dive, right? I believe it was up until 2017, right, Andy? That players were given 5 years to play 4 seasons, and exceptions were only made for seasons that were cut short due to medical reasons. Now there's some scenarios where you get these hardship waivers, stuff like that. And even that's never a guarantee. And, obviously with all the news coming out this week, the players can play in up to 9 games, preserving a full year's eligibility. I don't know if that applies to everyone that's still in college. I would imagine it does. And then I think the whole thing is to keep the players more engaged and eliminate these mid-year opt-outs like what we saw with Matt Sluka last year with UNLV, where if you extend this to 9 games, players won't decide to leave after 4 games and then the season is cooked. There's pluses and minuses to this. With the current landscape of NIL, the best solution is probably 5 years to play 5 years. That is probably what we're going to look at in the new norm. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm not an expert. I don't have the answers. I'm not going to pretend like I do. I know a lot of people that I'm close to that are 4 years, that's it. And then there's other people that I'm close to that are like, 5 years. 5 years, that's it, no exceptions. Now, with these clock extension requests, and for Chambliss' situation, the numbers don't exactly favor either way, which is why I feel like we're stuck in the middle ground. It's all going to come down to the lawyers and this specific case. So you can't really judge based off these numbers. So the NCAA, I believe, what was the number? 784 clock extension requests that they got, and 438 were in football. So of those 25 cases in sliding injury, the NCAA, they approved 15 of those. 6 of them were in football, as we were studying up on. Now, if you don't have medical documentation, simple enough, you likely won't get approved. Even if you do, there's still a chance you don't get approved. Thoughts on players getting 6+ years of college football? Hard no. However, in this specific case, Chambliss played 4 years of Division II football and only really played in 2 of them. In this specific case, I would give Trinidad Chambliss a 6th year. However, this could open up the door to more cases and more that don't meet these standards. And guys saying, why not me? Why not me? Ultimately, what I think is going to happen is Chambliss gets denied. I think he should get approved. I think he's getting denied. That's my personal opinion on this right now. Hope I'm wrong, but I don't know if I will be.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I think I agree with you. I don't want a bunch of 6-year guys running around in college football, which is what we have at a ton of rosters. Carson Beck is, I believe, in his 6th year, if not his 7th. He's been around forever. Indiana has several players that are playing their 6th, 5th year. And why would these coaches not take these kids that are, 23, 24-year-olds that have played in college football for several years? I mean, it's more power to them. I mean, you're playing by the rules as long as you're not doing anything illegal. I don't think anything is wrong with it. In the Chambliss case goes, so 2022, I misspoke. Tom, you said he played 2 games. So by the rule, he didn't play 4, so that should count. Especially if it's a medical red shirt. But if they didn't, present proper documentation at that time, it could come back to bite them. Tom, you mentioned this. So far this academic year, the NCAA has received 784 clock extension requests, 438 of those in football. Of those, 25 cases cited an incapacitating injury, 9 in football. The NCAA approved 15 of those, 6 in football, and all 15 provided medical documentation from the time of the injury. Conversely, all 10 that were denied, 3 in football, did not provide required medical documentation. So I'll have to look more into it. I don't know. I saw that the coach had sent an email to the NCAA, but I don't know if that counts. An email can't count as medical documentation. So that I'll have to go back and look at that. But Noah, I'll throw it down to you. Your thoughts on the Chambliss thing? Do you have a solution? 5 for 5, 5 to play 4. And then we can get into the 9-game red shirt. And I believe I don't think that's official yet. So that was a vote at the AFCA, the American Football Coaches Association. They had a conference, and not every Division I coach was there, but a good majority were there. And they voted unanimously to extend the red shirt rule from 4 games to 9. And that still has to be approved by the NCAA. So it's on the table. We'll see what happens, but 4 games to 9 games feels insane to me. But no, I'll kick it to you. Give me your take on this whole situation we got here.
I'm in the middle, guys, to be honest. I think this one could go either way. I think I side with Tom, however, in that I would probably give him the 6th year of eligibility just because I can see the argument. He had 1 normal red shirt in 2021. Then you could give him a medical red shirt for 2022. And then when you do that, he's only played 23 through 25. So you had 1 year of eligibility. I just think it's more about the precedent it sets rather than the individual case. And that's why, I have a pretty simple way that I would do it, guys, is I would do 4 years of normal eligibility, what we would consider. So, 4 years playing, you get 1 normal red shirt, and then I would give you a max of 1 medical red shirt. So that would be the absolute possible max you could play is 6 years. And that involves you getting, first of all, playing all 4 years of normal eligibility. You get a normal red shirt, and you had to have an injury that basically ended your entire season. I don't think you should do any more than that because, and I'm not saying this to blame this player, but he's the example that comes to mind. If you do any more, you're going to get more guys like Cam McCormick to where they have multiple terrible injuries. I believe he tore his Achilles, and he had to have an ankle reconstruction. So he got basically like 2 or 3 years worth of medical redshirts. That's why he had 9 years of eligibility. I think stuff like that is ridiculous. In my opinion, you should get a max of 1 medical redshirt and 1 normal redshirt. So, I think for the most part, because, with the numbers that you guys just brought up there, it's not like there were a ton of medical redshirt hardships, whatever you want to call them, being given out, right? And you had to have documentation to get it pretty much. And by the way, can I just say this? How stupid do you have to be to not give the required document? If you're that desperate to play more, to get more money, you can't even do the bare minimum. Come on, guys. But yeah, that's how I would do it. I think I'm a fairly strict guy on the eligibility stuff. I don't think we should have guys playing 6+ years, but I can understand if a guy blows his knee out on the first game of the season or whatever. It would kind of suck to use that against a guy's eligibility, right? So yeah, 4 years of normal eligibility, 1 normal red shirt, 1 medical red shirt. That's how I would do it. I think that would be mostly pretty fair.
I agree with you on that. And, obviously COVID is a big thing here. Everybody getting an extra year if you were around in 2020. So, we should be getting towards the end of most of those players. But, obviously there's isolated situations with injuries like, Cam McCormick comes to mind, the tight end that played at Oregon and Miami. I think he was around for 8 years. And then, you have a guy like TJ Finley that's going to his 7th school, I think, in 7 years, which is insane that he still has any eligibility left. But crazy. We'll see what happens. I believe Division II is voting this week on 5 for 5. And I just find it really hard to believe that if D2 goes 5 for 5, that D1 it won't be close behind, especially with the amount of movement we see in the transfer portal, and as Chambliss being a great example. How is that going to affect their eligibility? If they move up, or let's say a guy goes down to D2 after being at the Division One. I think it's there's ripple effects here, boys. So I'm curious to see what is going to happen with that. But all right, we have a second semifinal game to break down. This one not as fun as the first game. Obviously, a big win for Indiana. It started on the first play with a pick six, and that pick six led to 56-22 win for the Hoosiers as they continue their undefeated season and march on to the national title game. Dante Moore and Oregon, obviously the very first play, Pons jumps the route, looks like he knew what was going to happen from the snap. Just a perfect play by him, takes it to the house. I will say I thought Oregon's response on their second drive was impressive, driving down and scoring a touchdown. But from there, what is it, 28 unanswered by IU, maybe 35 unanswered. They went on a scoring run. They couldn't be stopped. They broke Oregon's will, like Kirk Cinetti likes to say. Mendoza was just great again, 17 for 20 with 5 touchdowns, more touchdowns than incompletions, fellas, for 177 yards. Dante Moore on the other side was 24 for 39, 2 touchdowns and an interception, 285 yards through the air. Dair Hill was the leading rusher for Oregon, with Whittington battling some injuries, 5 carries for 86 yards. Keelan Black found the end zone 2 times, 63 yards, and Elijah Surratt had a big game. Tom, you called him out as a guy you were going to be watching. 7 receptions, 75 yards, and 2 scores. Noah, we'll start with you on this one because you actually remembered that this game happened, and Hoosiers 56, Ducks 22. I think we all picked Indiana, right? You thought that Oregon was going to have to jump out early, and a lot of things were going to have to go right for them to win this game. Obviously, they didn't. but did you foresee that it being a 34-point loss for Dan Lanning and the Ducks?
No, and I don't think really anyone did, to be honest. I thought it'd be a close game. In fact, I could be wrong. I thought I actually picked Oregon in the upset. And man, if I did, we're gonna just delete that clip off the internet. You talk about eggs on the face, you might as well add some sausage, bacon, and toast on that too. We got to be one of the worst takes of all time. But man, I mean, Indiana guys, they're just a well-oiled machine. And I've seen a few people mention this week actually. I'm starting to wonder if Kurt Zanetti is redefining the way that programs are going to build their teams. And what I mean by that is, in the past, obviously it's been all about recruiting, getting those 5 and 4 stars. But when you look at this Indiana team, guys, 0 5 stars, I believe it was 7 4 stars on their entire roster. The reason they're good isn't because of recruiting masterclass or whatever. It's because of the fact that they have so much experience on this team. These 5th and 6th-year starters, all these seniors, you know, a guy like Tom's guy at center, Pat Coogan, beasts like that. They're built with that veteran presence. And I think in this NIL era, especially, right, where guys are transferring every 5 minutes or whatever, to get a coach that can convince these guys to stay, 3, 4+ years or whatever, get transfer portal as well, getting these experienced guys in the transfer portal rather than, these freshmen or sophomores. I'm starting to think that, Kurt Zanetti has probably found something with this formula that he's got here. But as for the game itself, guys, I mean, what can you say? This was just, and by the way, I just want to say this. To all the people who were shitting on the G5 and the blocks or whatever, we've had 10 playoff games so far, and I did a quick count. 5 of the 10 have been by more than 2 possessions, 17 plus points, including this one, which was a semifinal game. So, but regardless, Mendoza, I mean, what can you say? 17 to 25 touchdowns. It wasn't a lot of yards, but when you're that efficient, it doesn't really matter. Kalen Black, I thought, was really good, over 5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. But the main story is the defense. I mean, you mentioned it, Andy, that pick 6 on the first play of the game. I mean, I think that set the tone. And other than one 71-yard run by Hill Jr. that set up an Oregon touchdown, Oregon had, I believe, it's 25 carries for 22 yards on the entire game. So they couldn't run the ball. They fell behind massively early. They had to try to pass back into it. And look, I like Dante Moore, but Dante Moore is not Mendoza. I mean, Mendoza is just, he's on another level. I don't even know what to say right now, guys. But, 3 sacks with Indiana defense, 10 tackles for loss. And look, I love my dude, Dan Lanning, but Kurt Zanetti, man, I mean, he's just the real deal. This, like I said, this is just a well-oiled machine. They don't make the major mistakes. Their fundamentals are sound. They may not have the star recruiting talent or whatever, but they got guys that can compete. They were 11 of 14 on third down as well. There were 3 turnovers for them, or 3 takeaways, 3-0 the turnover margin. Slightly better time of possession, way better rushing. I mean, I don't think it was when we were predicting it, I definitely want to see a 34-point game. But I mean, you go out there and you watch them play, they're just playing their best football at the right time of the season, which is crazy. But you know what's even crazier, Andy? This isn't even their biggest blowout victory of the season. You have to go all the way back to, I believe it was September, when they played Illinois and they won 63-10, I believe it was. But you know what? This is a much bigger game for them, and they're still playing amazing.
Yeah, the show's over. That's why you wanted to talk about this game, so you could throw that line in. But yeah, it actually did make me feel a little bit better that we weren't the only ones getting, just absolutely just embarrassed. But Tom, your thoughts on the Hoosiers marching on to the title game and doing so easily?
That Indiana's last loss was last year to another team in Indiana, Notre Dame. Just wanted to throw that out there for those of you who don't remember, in case you're wondering the last time Kurt Zagnetti's team lost a game. Personally, what I think, Indiana is a juggernaut. I mean, they held Miami to just Oregon to just 93 yards on the ground. That run defense was awesome. They forced a pick 6 the first play of the game. 3 Oregon Ducks turnovers from Dan Lanning's team, the 2 lost fumbles from six. He did not look good in this game at all. He had a couple impressive moments, but moments, that's not good enough. That is not good enough. And I'm going to give him some credit. He made the correct decision. He came back to Oregon. He's not ready for the NFL draft. He's not. He was mocked as the number 2 quarterback. I could have told you from a mile away he was not ready for the NFL. At one time, this guy was a Notre Dame commit. And I just want to say here that Indiana, they didn't do their best work running the football in the first half either. Yes, they ran for 185 yards. The stats looked great, but Mendoza made some really clutch throws in this game. Only 3 incompletions, 5 touchdown passes. Roman Hemby had 17 rushes for just 53 yards. So I thought Oregon did a really good job at containing him. It was Kalen Black who they struggled to stop. Black averaged over 5 yards a clip. That's a massive problem. Elijah Surratt is a mismatch for to watch in this game. 2 touchdown receptions. And yeah, when you force a Dan Lanning team to commit 3 turnovers, you will win the football game. And you deserve to go very, very far if you are that football team. Kurt Cignetti, man, I'm sorry, old boy. He has overtaken Kirby Smart as the best coach in college football.
Hey, I said that last week, Tom. You're not going to get me. I already said that.
Okay.
Feels like he kind of got you.
Yeah, okay, bro.
All right, dude. All right, dude. All right, now we're going to talk about the CFP National Championship game and Miami versus Indiana, a home playoff, or well, not just a playoff game, a home championship game for Miami. You don't see that every day, fellas. Tom, we'll start with you on this one. Can Indiana hang with, can Miami hang with Indiana? What do the Hurricanes have to do to win this game? Is it similar to the script we've seen so far for them? Is, run the ball, time of possession, dominate the line of scrimmage? That's a great game plan, but can they do that against this Hoosiers team?
They're very capable of. I mean, look who they've beaten to get here. They've beaten Ohio State. They've beaten Texas A&M. They've beaten Ole Miss. Say what you want about the coaching situation with Ole Miss. They beat them. And they beat Ohio State. They undressed Ryan Day. And now they get a home game, the national championship game. And Andy, you asked about a year before. This is the first time since 1995 that a team has hosted the national championship in their home stadium. And that team, that year, was Miami in the same stadium. How do you like me now? Anyway, they're going up against a real tough team in Indiana. They have outscored opponents in the CFP 94-25. They have totaled 94 points in 2 games. 2. And when you look at what they got the Heisman Trophy winner. He has north of 40 touchdown passes, 73% completion percentage. Good luck stopping them on the ground. Akeem Messidor and Ruben Bain. 218 rushing yards per game, the Hoosiers average. They, in the 2 CFP games combined, boys, play calls, 90 runs, 36 passes. That is a huge discrepancy. We know what they're going to do. And if you stack the box, you better watch out for Mendoza on play action. He's very capable of making you look foolish. Robin Hemby, really good runner. Kalen Black, closing in on 1,000 yards this year. He needs 39 to get there. Surratt, 15 scores. Cooper, 13 scores. Charlie Becker dominates in the slot. But the first key to the game I want to bring up, if Indiana is going to win in convincing fashion and not allow Miami to stay in it, you need to pressure Carson Beck early and often. You need to rattle him. And it will be challenging because Miami has a good offensive line. We talked about Maui Goa. You have Brockmeyer at center. I mean, this is a guy who's been a really good center for them. He's very capable of keeping interior defenders away from Beck. Beck is at his best when he has a clean pocket. But Indiana has some guys that can disrupt that. Elijah Hardy, Isaiah Jones. And defensively on that line, they have an excellent rotation, right? Tyreek Tucker, Stephen Daly, Mario Landino, you name it. And one of my favorite linebackers in the country this year, Aiden Fisher, has been a really good run-stopping linebacker. Oh, and he can drop back into coverage and play zone too. The defensive scheme is so diverse that Carson Beck will have to think outside of the box. Miami's offense will have to do things differently in order to get this Indiana offense off their game. Key number 2, Akeem Messidor must win his matchup against Pat Coogan. If he does not, it's game over. Pat Coogan played in the national championship game last year. He knows how it feels to be on the losing side of it. This is a revenge tour for him. He didn't feel good last year. Messidor has 10.5 sacks on the year. He will cause a lot of problems potentially. But Coogan's been there. He's a 6th-year guy. He's the uncle on the team. This matchup is the most boring matchup on the outside looking in, but in my opinion, it is the most individually important matchup of this game. I am looking at that all night long. Carson Beck, what the heck? Yeah, you're here. Your college career is not over yet. For some reason, it is still going. You want to talk about 6th-year guys? Beck, 73% of completion percentage. He needs to take a deep shot on to Malachi Toney early in this game, I think, right? Indiana knows they're going to want to establish the run with Mark. Something different and try to catch them off balance a little bit. I know these corners are good in Lewis Moore and Amari Farrell, but why not challenge them right away? Get them off their feet a little bit. Don't become one-dimensional. Take your shot early. If you want to beat a Kurt Cignetti team, you better put your nuts on the table the second the ball gets kicked off. Otherwise, it is night-night. I do not want to see either team win by a blowout in this game. I think the only team that has potential to win by a blowout is Indiana. Miami needs to keep it close if they're going to win. And now, Mark Fletcher. Despite everything I just said, by taking shots early, Miami must stay committed to the run. And what I mean by that, if they're down 10-0 in the first quarter, still run the football. You need to try to establish Fletcher. He's rushed for at least 90 yards in all 3 playoff games. He's gone over 130 yards twice. Shamar Brown is not a bad complimentary back either. And then one last point here before I make my pick. I think the Indiana receivers against the Miami DBs will be another key matchup, right? Keontae Scott and Jacoby Thomas going up against guys like Surratt and Cooper. I'm really excited to see who wins those. I think it's very 50-50. Mendoza will definitely challenge those 2 corners. Oh, and one more, Reuben Bain against Carter Smith. 2 potential first-round picks in the draft. Love that. All right, folks. Series is tied 1-1 all time. These teams last met in 1966. Both these meetings were in Miami, Florida. In Miami, they are home, but you know who's also home? Fernando Mendoza. He's returning home to his hometown, grew up just blocks away from this stadium. He will have a huge contingent of family and friends there at the game, and he will be celebrating with them on Monday night. Indiana takes home their first ever national championship.
Absolutely, Tom. I love that you brought up that story. Not only is it a home game for Miami, it's a homecoming for Fernando Mendoza, blocks away from the stadium. His dad played at Miami with Mario Cristobal They're great friends to this day. Miami overlooked him, didn't go there out of high school, obviously makes his way at Cal, and now what a story at Indiana. I think that, that is the story of the national championship for me, is that would make it so sweet. Obviously, for Mendoza and, everything that he's got going on with his family and his mom and her battle with MS and all that stuff. So, Noah, we'll start with, well, we're not starting with you. You're second in this one. We're going to you. Apologies. Miami, Indiana, what do you make of this game? Do we see another, big time Hoosier blowout? Does Miami keep it closer than the rest of the CFP field has been able to?
I hope it's not a blowout. I don't know, though, because like I said, Indiana, we knew they were the best team in the country, right? But some of the results we've seen them have, I mean, totally destroyed Bama, destroyed Oregon. They have just looked so clinical. I think Keys. So I agree with Tom. I think if this is a blowout, it's going to be Indiana's way. If Miami wins this game, I think it's going to be like less than one possession, maybe a field goal type of game. Keys for them, they got to stay balanced. Mark Fletcher, big reason they won that Ole Miss game was offensive line play and the running game. If they're not able to run the ball, if their offensive line is getting caved in, this game is going to be over before it even starts, guys. Mark Fletcher needs to have 20 plus carries, 100 plus yards. I think if they want to have any chance of winning the game, and they need to stay committed to the running game, even if they fall behind, kind of like Tom said there. Number two, I mentioned this a few things. Carson Beck needs to have a good game. This isn't a team to where you can go out and just have an average game manager type of performance and expect to win. You're going to have to make some big plays. You're going to have to make some deep shots, some play action, maybe avoiding a sack or something, when a guy breaks through to make a play, stuff like that. You can't just go out there and do the vanilla basics and expect to beat this team, in my opinion. You're going to have some solid Carson Beck plays to win this game. On the other side, they're going to need their defense to keep them in it. That's what's been Miami's, for the most part, their driving force this season has been, even when their offense was struggling, their defense would keep them in games. They need to have a game like that. It's going to be very difficult, of course, against this Indiana offense, the Heisman winner. They can run the football as well. They got some solid weapons. Their offensive line is excellent, but that's what they got to do. They got to try. You're not going to be able to stop Indiana, in my opinion, but you got to try to contain them. I hope it's close, but I'm going to be honest, guys. From what I've seen from Indiana, I mean, this is clearly by far, it's not even close, the best team in the country. I think Miami's had an amazing run, but I'm just going to be brutally honest. I don't look at any part between these two teams and see a clear Miami advantage. They have a huge advantage at coach, in my opinion. I don't think Cristobal's bad, but I mean, Cignetti is the best coach in football right now, in my opinion, college football at least. Big advantage at quarterback. Beck has played well, but I mean, Mendoza's the Heisman winner. Offensive line, I think they're both very good. Defense, I think they're both very good. Running backs are both very good. There's not a clear Miami advantage that I think I can point to and say, that would be the reason. That's a big reason that they could win to win the game. I just think Indiana's too good, man. I don't think anyone this year in this game. I don't think Georgia. Obviously, we know Ohio State couldn't do it. I don't think anybody right now, guys, could beat this Indiana team with how well coached they are, with how they're just blowing through teams. It's not even a contest in some of these games, man. How well coached they are, how physical they are. I hope those Miami fans enjoy this game, this nice home game they have, and I hope they enjoy the quick drive home, because that stadium is probably going to be half empty by the fourth quarter, man. Give me Indiana. I don't think it'll be a blowout, maybe like a 10 to 14 point game. But I do expect Indiana has too much for this Miami team, in my opinion. And I also want to say this as well, man. 12 months ago, if you told my boy Tom Scavetta that a team from Indiana will win the national champion this year, he would have bitten your hand off. Problem is, it's the Indiana Hoosiers, and they will win their first national title.
I mean, it's a movie, right, guys? Like, the losingest program of all time in 2 seasons, they're undefeated and going to the national championship game. They have the Heisman Trophy winner. They have the best coach in college football. It is just unbelievable tip your cap to Indiana. And I'm very curious to see what this crowd is going to look like. Obviously, it's in Miami, so there's going to be a heavy Miami crowd. But I don't know if you saw the crowd in the Indiana-Oregon game. It was like 90% Hoosiers. And Indiana, which I didn't know this until this weekend, they have the largest alumni base in the country with like over 800,000 alums. So,
Wow.
and, obviously they're not used to good football, right? So you can imagine how they'd be chomping at the bit to get into this one, but you are going to pay a price. I think I saw the cheapest ticket I saw for just getting in was like $3,500. So wow. Hopefully it's a good game. Congrats to both teams for making it. I am picking Indiana as well. I think I forgot to say that. I can't not pick them after, selecting them when we did our bracket a few weeks ago. But all right, boys, it's time. One last time for the year, one last loss for me. We can say it. I'll just get it out of the way. Omar Cooper Jr. to score a touchdown is my lock of the week. Noah, since you are always the first to give me shit, let's hear what you got this week.
I'm gonna go pretty simple with this one, guys. Unfortunately, I don't have any random games to pick this week. It's got to be from this game. So I am going Indiana to cover the 8.5 spread.
It's probably a good bet. Tom, what do you think?
I will go with Omar Cooper Jr. to not score a touchdown.
You son of a bitch.
Well, Andy's losing. There's nothing lost.
Fuck? They're just, you know what? I thought we could ride off into the sunset, potentially the last show of the season. Just no. So we got to bring up 63-10. We got to go. You know what? I might bet him to score 2 touchdowns now.
What, 6 weeks in a row? 6 games in a row?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Andy,
you got the upper hand.
You just made me think of something, actually, Andy. You remember that you mentioned, this is like a movie story for this Indiana football team, right? And of course, I think everyone remembers the old Hoosiers movie about the basketball team about 40 years ago. If they made a Hoosiers Part 2, I just want to say this, man. That Illinois game this year would be about 2 seconds of a montage. That's all it would get.
That's fine. I'm totally fine with that. We want to just forget about it. We just crumple it up. We throw it away.
Yeah, that's not
all
happening.
Right. We're on to next season. Okay. We're very excited about the program we've got built here in Champaign. You worry about who the next fucking Georgia player to get arrested is going to be.
Hey, I'll give you credit. Maybe next year you can only lose 56-10.
Whatever. Hey,
that would be improvement.
We won our bowl game, you fuck. How was that bye week and then losing to fucking Ole Miss, dude? Hey, come on. It's been over 1,000 days since you've won a playoff game.
I just want to remind you guys.
Big Ten greater than the SEC, by the way. There's no debate about that now. Now that everybody can pay players and you guys don't have to do it illegally and under the table. They're like,
here we go.
Yeah, the playing field's a little level.
I just want to remind you guys of one thing. Doesn't matter who wins this game Monday night. Only one team in the 2020s has won more than one title, and that's the Georgia Bulldogs.
All right. We'll give you your flowers for that. I'll give you your flowers for that. I also am curious why you're wearing gloves inside. How cold is it in your house?
It's 20 degrees right now, bro.
I love the school spirit, but I noticed him last show and I didn't say anything about it, but I'm like, that's
yeah.
I
live in the mountains. I don't
could have been a third if you beat Notre Dame last year. Could have been a third, old boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they choked against Notre Dame, man.
Did you have those on when you were eating cereal?
No, I put them on just for the show.
I was just curious.
Hey, my hands get cold, man.
I get you, dude. I'm the same way with my feet. Like my significant other and my kids always make fun of me for always having socks on, but I'm like, I would rather have warm feet than cold feet, you psychopaths. But all right, gentlemen, this has been a very fun show, an eventful show, and we're going to get out of here in less than an hour. That has never happened before on the show. So I'll say this before we get out of here. to you boys, I appreciate the hell out of you. I love doing this show with you every week. I've had an absolute blast this year. I thank you for joining me and on this ride. And here's to plenty more years and plenty more shows that we can do and debate and give each other shit about our respective football teams. This has been awesome. Everybody that's, tuned in and listened, watched, we thank you. Hopefully you'll be back next year, and bring a friend with you. But for Tom, for Noah, my name's Andy. This is the Tailgate Committee. Please like and subscribe on YouTube at the Tailgate Committee. We're at the Tailgate Committee on Facebook and Instagram. And then we're at the Tailgate Com on Twitter. Look out for some content coming from us this offseason. We do a yearly NFL draft show on some of our other channels that we've been doing, Tom, for like 5 years now.
Yeah.
So definitely look out for some NFL draft content from the Tailgate Committee, and maybe some updates as we see fit throughout the offseason. But we appreciate everybody. I'm gonna raise a glass. Raise a glass to the show. Oh, you can't see it. Oh, you can't see it. Oh, but I have a beer. All right, there it is. This is the Tailgate Committee. We'll see you guys later.